grog.
I've got a small window of opportunity to edit this thing this week, so no talking over each other and no fucking swearing.
Oh, God. I'm not going to speak.
Right, here we go. Hey, everyone. It's Sideshed Podcast with me, Peter Fickling, and Keri. Hey, everyone. It's a Sideshed Podcast with me, Peter Fickling, Keri Warbis, and Matthew Weir. Warbis is back from Australia, full of wine and spirits last night. Yeah. Warbis is back. Keri, how are you doing?
I was going to ask, how are things in Goat World?
Is that the new attraction at Bridge Farm?
Well, Tony asked it, didn't he?
I mean, they've got a lot of things to do at this open day. So I think the latest one is they just strap loads of terrified kids to manic goats and then push them off across the fields.
Did you hear Tony said he was polishing his fortune or something? What was that all about?
I don't know, but he said, I made a note of that,
Yeah.
giving his fortune a once over because he was going to show it off or something. God knows what it is. Is that what he calls it?
Is it his knob?
Guys, let's get an ad in before talk of Tony's junk gets puts people off too much. Because, I don't think Tony's knob is big box office. Right, for the 5 of you who are left listening after thinking about Tony and his penis, Keri, you for once did find Tony an engaging and potentially interesting character this week.
Oh, God, yes. I was cheering him. Well, it was great, wasn't it? There were 2 incidences of Pat being shouted at. Oh, was there 3 actually? Did Helen as well a little bit? Because Lee shouted at her.
Sorry to be pedantic, but we're talking about within the show because I think Pat gets shouted at by about 4 million people every week.
Yes. But I loved Tony sort of going, I, for one, don't blame him. You have overstepped the mark. Talk about meddling mother. Ooh. And when he said they just don't agree with you and you've got to allow them to not agree with you. You never know, love. When he said love, you might even be wrong. That was, He took his life into his own hands, didn't he?
Scalding hot soup launching itself across the kitchen.
I don't think I've ever done that laugh before in my entire life. I don't know what it was. I think that's just the joy of thinking about Pat getting told to do one.
Yeah.
It was quite flimsy as well, wasn't it? To say, look, I've spoken to your father and he thinks the best thing you could do is come and live with us. And then 2 seconds later, Tony's like, what? I did what? I said, hey, huh?
Yeah, because he said, I didn't agree to this. And then Pat had a right cob on and said, you might have backed me in there, Tony.
I do like the fact that Pat was trying to turn herself into the Reverend John Wayne Gary Wayne from from Kimmy Schmidt. The idea she was going to create an underground bunker for Helen and her family to retreat into. I mean, I didn't go for Joseph Fritzl. I could have done.
I was once in the Triangle in Bristol on a visit back from Dublin, and there was a lad singing. For some reason, there's only one Joseph Fritzl. And to this day, I can't figure out why he was singing that.
I mean, it is true. I mean, say what you like about Joseph Fritzl, he is pretty unique.
Yeah, they broke the mould.
Yeah.
It was bloody disappointing when Tony then apologised, though, which was very shortly after, wasn't it?
It's inevitable, though, isn't it?
No, he could have strung it out for a week.
Did you like the way that Pat, even when she said she was going to go and apologise, it sounded like sounded like a threat, I'm off to apologise. Oh, my God, I wouldn't want to be on the end of one of those.
When she said that, Tony went, don't go marching in there shouting about Titchner. So he was even sort of reining her in then as well.
Hey, tell me something. Did you pick up on this in relation to Tony in Sunday's episode? Because he was in the shop and then he came to meet Helen and Pat and Lee. Why was Ambridge the village of the damned this week?
Okay.
Who did Tony get talking to and about what?
Well, he was talking to Jim, wasn't he, about sweets? And the greenness of things.
But when he showed up at Bridge Farm, he said, I got stuck talking to X about Y. What was it?
Keri, we're being revealed now for
for not paying any attention.
Yeah.
He got stuck talking to Barry about his rat's scabies.
You are having a fucking laugh. That did not happen.
And I can't work out if he said I was stuck talking to Barry about his rat scabies or his rat's scabies. So whether the rat is called scabies or whether his rat has scabies, it wasn't clear. But that's the damned connection.
Rat scabies was Dominic Raab's call sign when he was Deputy Prime Minister. That's what MI5 used to.
Massive apologies to, what's his real name? Christopher Miller, isn't it? Rat scabies.
In The Damned.
The drummer in The Damned, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. We went down a rat hole there. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, we did.
That definitely happened.
I think you've had one of those special cookies or something.
It's important to remember, everyone, that drugs are legal in Portugal, fully legal.
Anyway,
whether or not that influenced your decision to live there is another matter.
I had no idea before I arrived.
Well, that's the reverse of me when I moved to southeast London, and I was sitting in the pub with my mates, and then one of them went, "Oh, you're moving to a dry estate." I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, there's no pubs there." It was like so I'd moved to the one part of southeast London where there was no pubs. I was absolutely distraught. This is back in the good old days when I was drinking my own weight in lager every day.
God.
Yeah. I'm not there anymore.
Pubs everywhere where I live.
Has your local reopened yet, Keri?
Yes, it has reopened. Yes. Friends of the deceased have, I don't know why I'm laughing.
No.
just that the listeners would not have been expecting me to say that. I don't know. It's nervous laughter, I suppose. Yeah, they reopened it. Still don't know the full deets on that one, but anyway.
Yes, I mean, we should point out that the owner of Keri's local came on holiday to Porto and died in mysterious circumstances.
And so did his girlfriend.
Oh, blimey.
I have a theory on what happened to them, but I've told you that, Keri. So.
Yeah, you have. I agree as well.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
We digress slightly. How do we link that to anything?
Dodgy pubs.
So is Dennis the worst character? Because I think someone on Twitter was asking, is it two different actors? But I didn't realise it was the same guy, obviously. And I disliked him intensely both times. Sykesy, I thought, might be the worst current character, but now Dennis has come in and taken the crown.
Definitely the same actor, as far as I can tell from the cast list.
Yeah.
I like the way Jazzer pointed out that the real sign that someone is a massive wrong-un is if they're a Birmingham City fan.
Yeah, because when he said he's Celtic and that Dennis the Blues, I was thinking Rangers are the light blues, aren't they? Yeah.
But I don't think they would have actually been that jovial about a Rangers and a Celtic fan having that chat.
No, they would have just nutted each other.
Yeah. Coming from a long line of Celtic fans on my mum's side of the family. They said I should have known better than to trust a Blues supporter, and the Blues are Birmingham City.
Did you not think, though, that Jazzer would have seen Dennis's face in like photos?
I think it's been quite successfully erased, but I was wondering about the chronology of Ed and the Grundys and the Horrobins, not knowing who he was. I presume they checked that out to make sure there isn't a conflict of interest, because recently we had some doubts, didn't we, from one of our listeners thinking that Paul had met Justin at the Hunt Ball and therefore would have known who he was. But
they're only human, these scriptwriters, aren't they?
Some of them.
I did think Ed sounded a bit odd, did you?
I think that was meant to be awkwardness.
Oh, right, okay. The scoring system was quite funny, wasn't it? The summer hay meadow with foaming head, and then it tasted like piss.
Yes. I like that bit where Ed went, you're going to write that down on your card, Jim.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. The Crown Inn scored 3 out of 10, or even 2, possibly.
I don't know how good the aesthetics are of a bunch of men going into pubs with clipboards and continually going to the gents.
Yeah. I mean, they're sort of humouring Jim, aren't they, with this? Neither of the other two want to be doing this strange thing. Even though the beer tasted awful, Ed just went, it tasted all right to me. They don't give a shit, do they, about which pub they're in?
I got paid to go around all of my locals' competition and take pictures of the menus and try and get the skinny on what they were up to. It was one of the best days' work I've ever done.
Oh, when was that?
That's a massive Linda Snell storyline waiting to happen.
Pre-internet, I presume.
That's when I lived in West London, and they just the landlord and landlady had lost time to go and do this, or they thought they'd be sussed out. So yeah, I was given I think it was 30 quid. And I did a tour of all the pubs they asked me to, got a drink in each one, and tried to chat to the staff and find out, what their plans were. Or, so yeah,
Did you kind of go in and go, nice pub you got here? Would be a shame if, something were to happen to it.
this is how I used, to be fair, quite a lot of these pubs, I was a local in those ones as well.
Timber frame bar, that goes up like a treat.
Did you have to make notes, Peter? Did you have a little scorecard thingy? Yeah.
It was pre-smart. I want to say it was pre-smartphones being usable as a kind of quick note-taking device. So
okay.
I did have a notepad on me.
Yeah,
I think it was taking pictures was easy. Yeah, it's fantastic.
But why? So they're going around these pubs, scoring them, and then they'll only go on the stag do to one of them, or on a pub crawl, or what? What's happening?
I got the impression it was for one venue, unless I misunderstood.
Right, so they're having the stag in one pub.
Maybe it was meant to be a crawl.
It's going to be the bull, isn't it, in the end?
They're doing like 5 or 6 mini stag do's to try and decide where to do a stag do. Is that basically it?
I reckon like a squall will come in and no one will be able to leave Ambridge, and Kenton will say to Tracy, "Oh, for goodness sake, tell him to have his stag here," and it'll end up being in the bull. Yeah.
A squall?
Well, like a weather.
Pocahontas.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, could do. It's as likely as anything else that's going on at the moment, isn't it, really?
Well, exactly. There was that moment. The whole point of bumping into Den, Tracy said, it's like one of those things you'd hear in a story that someone made up. And I was like, hang on, what's happening to my brain here?
It would give Freddie and Elizabeth something else to argue about. They're called Native Americans, Mother. No, it's the score I just saw in the village. Oh, for God's sake, oh.
I tell you what, Freddie cannot growl like Chelsea, can he? She needs to give him lessons.
I bloody love Freddie still to this day. I think Elizabeth was horrible to him, really snappy. He was trying to be all optimistic. He went, "Oh, do you need any help?" And she was like, "I'm looking at the summer event schedule." And he said, "Oh, I hope it's going to be nice weather this year." And she just went, Is that it? Have you finished?"
She's a right landed gentry cunt. She gets right on my tits, honestly. And this moment she's telling Freddie about the trustees. Am I to understand right? Trustees, they are there to protect the assets that Freddie would inherit, right? Isn't that what they do in terms of the national heritage?
Viability of the business, reputation, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. And he did go a bit teenage tantrum, but I really liked that scene later when they were having dinner and he got up and left because he was a bit pissy. And Ben said, "Should I go and talk to him?" And Lizzie was like, "No." And David went, "I'll go." Like, what?
Yes.
Because Ben said, "I'll go and cheer him up." And David was like, "No, I'll do it." And I was like, "Have you ever done that, Dave?" I actually find David objectively funny. But
unintentionally funny.
Yeah. But in terms of like actually cheering Freddie up, but I loved the tone of Freddie's voice when they had that chat because he was really down. And it gave everyone's just been kind of thinking, oh, they're trying to do this woke storyline, etc., about him being PC. But in fact, he gave it full context, which I'd never even thought about, which is the connection with Blake, which I thought was brilliant.
Well, Elizabeth has got no time to even listen to her son, has she? She's too busy sort of fanning around in that office doing some like half-baked job that she supposedly got that takes up all of her time and is really exhausting.
When the explosion happened, and then we were all dying to hear the next episode, and it was Freddie trying to pull, who we thought at the time was Gavin. We thought Gavin was in there. We had no idea there was this whole slave storyline going on, and a badly burnt Linda. And like, I remember him saying, like, "Come on, mate, come on." Like, he was really distraught. And, he went through that. So it does make sense that he has this connection. Yeah. And he's making that connection with this painting to what Philip Moss was doing. And it's been left with David, hasn't it? He said he's going to have a word with Lizzie. How much good that will do.
How's that going to go? Because when David sat him down outside and was like, "Being a parent is hard. They don't always get stuff right. Don't be too hard on Elizabeth." Oh, well, he isn't being hard on Elizabeth, for one thing. And, he started almost lecturing him before finding out what on earth was going on, really, properly, for Freddie.
How old is Freddie now? I guess he's 21,
He's
22.
23, I think.
Okay. When does he get Lower Loxley? Because it will be his. That was what was hinted at, wasn't it?
I think it's when Elizabeth dies, isn't it?
Is it? I think I got a feeling he gets it before he's 30.
Oh, does he? Because they were asking this on Twitter, and someone had said it's when Elizabeth dies. But it might not be right.
The Daily Mail is going to do 18 pages on it when he gets control of it. He's going to rename the horse even. It's going to be called Cancelled Crystal. Is that going to get the bells? It's
I
up to
laughed.
me, isn't it?
You're in charge. You
I'm not,
do your own bells,
I'm not
Matthew.
belling myself. Tried that once. Need to remove a vertebrae.
No one wants to be caught ringing their own bells. I think Lizzie's doing the right thing by wanting to add information about the painting and leave it on view. I mean, it's just one man's opinion. I don't want to get into the politics of it at all. You know, we haven't got time for that. But I think it's exactly right what Keri was saying and what you were saying, Matthew, that it's just the way she's delivering that information. I think she hasn't even tried to have a reasonable conversation about it. And, you know, I mean, if you are going to run a stupid feudal anachronistic relic, then at least sort of obey the rules. He is the little lord of the house. You know, it's not I don't believe in it, but he's the little lord of the house. Maybe he should be listened to.
Do you want some breaking news?
Go on.
Arsenal 0, Southampton 2.
Get off.
I've been chuckling to myself all day. It's rather pathetic to make yourself laugh, right? But just the idea of Adam O'Macy and him reconnecting with his Irish roots.
Well, when he said, "Oh, my sister is interesting and funny. We're going to get along fine." I thought, well, you're neither of those two things, are you? You cannot be related.
No, I mean, you know, for absolutely hands down that Paddy, Erin's got that on speakerphone, and Paddy's there going, "I'm dead. Tell him I'm dead." Because when someone said, like, "Did you speak to Erin?" I thought he was going to call back, and someone else would answer and go, this is Owen. I'm sorry, Erin's passed, Adam."
Yesterday.
Yeah, sorry.
Because when Ian said, "Are you sure it isn't a scam?" and Adam went, "No, you can tell it isn't by what she wrote. She said she was researching her family history and was interested in anyone who might have a connection with Paddy Redmond. That's not a scam."
Yes,
Are
and
you a fucking idiot?
"My name is Paddy Redmond, and I am currently stuck in Burkina Faso. Would you be able to forward me 10,000 American dollars?" Absolutely. You think Adam still got access to the home farm bank account he siphoned $5,000 out of just to pay for the rewiring of the cottage?
Yeah.
Adam doesn't need a fake prince to start rinsing money, does he? He can do it all off his own back. But it is interesting, isn't it? Because like you know, for every nation, I don't know. It's just I've never heard a man who sounds less Irish than Adam Macy.
Have you seen Sean Connery and Darby O'Gill and The Little People?
Okay, he's the worst actor ever. He's an amazing movie star, but he's such a bad actor.
Yeah, is he just going to get totally ripped off? Because she's having to come to Ambridge, of course, isn't she, to meet him so that he can show her where Paddy used to work and stuff. Do you think she'll actually come?
Someone did give me a very good synopsis of what happened the last time Paddy was in Ambridge. And he tried to make contact with Adam. And I think Brian ended up going to the Bull, giving him short shrift and telling him to sling his hook. And as it happened, I think as he was leaving, Adam passed Jenny with Adam, and he didn't say who he was, but just saw him. So Adam doesn't know that he passed him in the street that day.
Oh, that's interesting. He's actually seen him.
Yeah, I'll try and dig that out and send it to you.
How old was Adam then?
I think I got the impression he was a teen, but I'll have to double check that.
Also, he was a bit flippant, wasn't he, when Ian said, "Oh, it's a shame that he died 2 weeks ago," and Adam sort of went, "Oh well, you know what you haven't known, you haven't missed, have you?" Well, you were just looking for him for ages on a genealogy site. Do you want to know him or not?
They are all behaving strangely, aren't they? In the wake of Jenna's death. Alice with the will, Adam with tracking down Paddy, and then just being like, "Oh, it's fine, he's dead."
I thought we could have had a week off without mentioning
Sorry. I mean,
Ah.
I think Brian's handling it the best, just binning everything and moving into a different place.
Cooking lessons. Bang on.
Yeah.
I like the very practical, what's the only thing that woman did for me? Right, couple of lessons, done. Sorted out.
I don't think he's ever forgiven Jenny for pouring that bottle of Rioja down the drain in the back garden just because Alice had a drinking problem.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was tragic.
Well, it was a gift that was given to Alice, wasn't it, before she had opened up about
Yeah.
it? And Brian, in the end, was like, well, we can find... No, I think Brian tried to give it to her. And she said, no, it's fine. And he went, okay, well, your mother and I can find a use for the Rioja.
Yeah.
And the use was to tip it down the drain.
And it was at that moment he began slowly poisoning Jennifer. Arsenal have scored, by the way.
So I mentioned Dennis and Sykesy, like, who was the worst character. And I think for me, actually, forget either of them. It's Ben.
Oh,
Ben
God.
and Bess.
Oh, no. Those scenes. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. First of all, on behalf of all old people, I'm not allowed to swear, but get done, Ben, because it's like, this is a dog. Who wants to pet him? Have you seen a dog before? Look at this. Roll over, Bess.
Oh, no.
It's like, my God. I mean, they're in a home. They're not simple. Well, some of them might be, but
I don't
for
know.
the ones who aren't,
Sykesy is. Yeah, I mean, God, get away from me. Like this dog in the lounge. People on Twitter were saying you wouldn't be allowed to take a dog in anyway.
Wouldn't you? I used to volunteer in an old folks home, and people used to come in with a dog, and it was real, like, emotional support. I saw people that hadn't really kind of reacted to anything ever would just suddenly get really excited if a dog came in.
I think what they meant was you can't just sort of rock up with one. It has to, all be okayed and what have you. He just sort of decided.
have the COVID scrubbed off its first.
Is it that impressive that a dog can roll over and bark? I don't know.
No, but I mean, it just makes a change from Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah, I suppose so. Oh, God. And so now he's invited Sykesy to Brookfield, hasn't he? He's getting closer and closer to Jill.
Keri, we've got the old Ben back.
Oh, yeah. That was eerie, wasn't it, from David?
And I thought to myself, I don't remember hating Ben with every fibre of my being before. So, yeah, I don't think either it's complete character transformation as per normal, or I've completely misremembered Ben.
To what end is this story that Sykesy goes to Brookfield? There has to be something, some skeleton in the cupboard.
What can it possibly be? Like, did he used to go with Jill? Is it that? Is he the dad of somebody? Is it that?
Because he said he used to be a big fella, didn't he? And he used to be really strong. He used to volunteer at farms around there. I reckon up at Bridge Farm, at the end of a tough day, he decided to lean back on a Massey Ferguson while eating a sandwich, and it crushed John.
Yeah, because he tosses hay bales. He tosses.
Keri, with your sense of humour, don't pause after that word. Come on.
He tosses hay bales as if they're candy floss, and Ben sort of went, "Oh, I'd like to see that." Didn't he? I was like, "Oh, has he got a crush on him?"
There's something strange coming. Hopefully, Sykesy won't ask Ben to give his fortune a once over.
So it just holds a mirror up to the inequity of the village, doesn't it? Sykesy breaks his body on the land and ends up kind of mourning his youth, and all of the archers, they all just sort of float into their dotage like Peggy with loads of money, or I know Christine's in the laurels, but still, you imagine it's the penthouse, don't you?
His nephew pays for him to be in there, doesn't he? Terry Hodge.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I think the script writers have done a good job.
His nephew works up at the cooperative, doesn't he? And he said that he pays for him to be that. He's done well for himself, and that's why he's paid for him to be in there. Whereas his immediate family then?
Yeah, exactly.
Did he have any? Yeah, after Jill turned him down, or made promises to him and then broke them, and here he is, never got over her. And she's such a lovely woman, you can understand it.
Speaking of archers with riches, what about Helen having paella on a Friday night?
Yeah, no recession in that house.
No.
I was expecting Lee to go full Rob and say, actually, I don't like paella.
Yeah. Did she cook it? She doesn't seem to do anything, Helen, does she? Like Lee's sort of running around doing everything.
She did cook it because he was running late with his appointments.
Yeah, that's true. Doesn't it take hours and hours to cook and prepare?
Well, it can be. No, not really. It's just rice, isn't it? I mean, you kind of pre-cook all the bits. My favourite is just like a bit of seafood and a bit of rabbit in there, and it's pretty much like preparing a risotto.
Ooh, rabbit.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't it like ratatouille, that if you want to do it as per the book, you can make it take 2 hours or you can knock it out in 15 minutes.
Like your lovemaking. Uh,
But what did you think was going to happen there? Because Helen was manically laughing about this John Cleese type character. And I thought, and when it went, obviously it cuts away to Brad and Chelsea, ties in with the den thing. It goes back to them, and I was like, something's bound to go wrong here. What is it? Is
Yeah.
a pinging message from Rob, or is it going to be a phone call? Is she going to see something in the guidebook that reminds her of him? I didn't know what it would be, because with Lee before, it was a song, wasn't it? When she freaked out the first time, they split
Yes.
up. It was the song that was playing when she'd stabbed him.
But this time it was the heavy petting on the sofa, wasn't it, that triggered her,
Set her off.
and that mask that Lee had on.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I don't know. Her head is full of Rob, isn't it? She's pretending she's playing it all down to her family. Meanwhile, like Pat's twitching about CCTV working and the light outside being fixed. And where's Jack? He's disappeared for 5 seconds. And Helen's like, no, 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 he'll never be in our lives like he used to be. But he's in her mind.
It was a bit weird, wasn't it? The way she went, no, it's not you. Let's have a look at the guidebook again.
Yeah. Poor Lee. He's like, okay. He'll know. He'll be lovely, won't he? I'm sure.
Is his lack of geographical knowledge just become a massive frigid turn-off?
He's never heard of Height Asbury or whatever it's called. It's weird, isn't it? Because the thought of them two getting it on, Lee and Helen, to me is really peculiar, because neither of them are in any way sort of vibrant, sexy people to me.
Is this a bit of Borsetshire Blue for the dads, Keri?
Yeah. The kids as well. It's like, oh, one of them was reading, one of them had already switched their light off. God, it's never like that when you try to get kids to bed.
Less than a year ago, Lee was going, blimey, his JBL speaker bangs out, doesn't it? And they were like having raves in the bedroom and never going to bed and smashing up his beloved Marvel figures. How have they suddenly become well behaved?
Although, to be fair, it's going to be difficult to sleep with a 4-foot mural of a spider hanging over your bed.
Yeah.
Jaggedy, painted in kind of like, what's it called? Creosote left over from doing the fence.
Didn't Ian and Adam paint over that with primer?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, they did.
Jesus, what was he thinking, Adam?
Well, but is it not because possibly they want to go to bed because they're chatting to Rob via their console?
Yeah, it could be. Rob's he's on like some Discord channel.
Pincushion 72. I play a stupid cutesy little kids game, and it was quite impressive how many hoops I had to jump to be able to be hooked up to play with my mate's kids. And I was kind of like, yeah, this is actually quite reassuring.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
easy.
Like you needed a friend code sent via other means to be able to talk to the kids. So sorry to be a bit pedantic about it, but I don't think it would be that easy for Rob to just parachute in. I do like the idea of it, though. He's there kind of playing Call of Duty, training them up, trying to turn them into little, natural born killers.
If we're talking about wrong-uns, just to circle back to Den, this idea that he wants to come back and be in the kid's life. And Brad, I quite like that scene with Tracy where he said, Auntie Susan told me that Adam Macy tried to find his dad and he just faked his own death. I just thought that was quite touching, but I'm worried about Den's motivations. And I got this horrible feeling Den might actually take more of a shine to George, and that's going to mess things up.
God,
there.
really? No good can come of this, I don't think. And
No.
Tracy was very charitable with him, going, oh, he's like, I've turned 50, I've changed my name. I'd like to, make amends because I've missed out. I don't know if you can really easily do that. And I do worry, like Brad and Chelsea they're just coming into their own, aren't they? And becoming more well-rounded characters and forging their own little grooves and stuff. And if he messes them up, it's not going to be pretty, is it?
I thought that initially about the pregnancy as well. I don't want people coming in and bursting the bubble of this very lovable family unit. But obviously it has to
Yeah.
happen because you can't have a family that just everything trundles along in a soap opera and
No.
everything goes fine.
And having said that, I think I do understand why Chelsea's more like, oh, he's useless. Mum wouldn't have left him if he wasn't useless. But Brad having more of a, he wants a male, he's got Jazza, but like he's probably interested in having his father as a possible role model or someone to connect with.
Yes, yeah, but I'm with you, Keri. This is not going to go well.
No.
No. He tried to touch Tracy somehow, didn't he? I don't know if he was just hugging she had to sort of go, and you can stop that. And he went, oh yeah, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, I wondered if it was a hug or a hand on the knee or something like that. And she
Yeah.
went nuts at him. And he went, yeah, you're right, inappropriate. Because I got the impression they were sat in a car.
Yeah.
I hope he's not going to start trying to make a play for it again.
Yeah, that would be
It's
bad.
got a name, Matthew.
It.
I mean, it as in the situation. We got to hear from Chelsea's mate Tara. We haven't heard from her in a long time. As she said, I haven't seen her in ages. And the last time I think we heard about Tara, that was who she ditched Jake for after
Yeah.
going to see Jules, because it came up in the quiz with Madeline as the question that I
Yes.
had deemed too difficult, so didn't include, and Madeline knew the answer. So yeah, I like the way that she got a mention again tonight.
And she ditched her again, didn't she?
Well, Tara ditched her, didn't she? She ditched Jake for Tara last time.
Oh right, yeah, sorry. But yeah.
Did she call her a dozy mare?
I don't...
Peter, you were right. Let's put an ad in here.
So, guys, that would have been the national lottery for me. Hope you enjoyed your ads. Keri is back, and that means that Matthew's long stint of doing the social medias all on his own, because I am very lazy when it comes to that stuff, is over. Keri, you're back. Have you had anything interesting happening on the Twitterverse?
Yeah, I missed a couple because of jet lag. But yeah, no, I dove straight back in and I'm loving it again at the Cider Shed Pod. You'll find us there. We've also had a lovely new 5-star review come through from Colette Lai.
Woohoo!
Yeah, a must listen for Archers fans is the title. This is a perfect weekend listen. I always look forward to it. The Archers is my end of the day guilty pleasure after work, and I discovered the Cider Shed after the trauma of Jenny's passing, so very recently. I've been listening to The Archers for over 10 years and more often than not find myself agreeing with Keri, Matthew and Peter. Talking of passing, you don't think Paddy passed because Adam was looking for him?
Oh, she's there before us.
She is. Keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to the Titchner coverage. Actually, it's from Michael. So Colette Lai is the name on the review, but Michael has signed that off. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Peter, you massively oversold my attention to the socials because I was so busy myself. I barely managed anything on Twitter. And I did very little on Instagram, but I'm going to try and do more. So we're on Instagram at the Cider Shed Pod, the same as our Twitter account. I wanted to say thank you because I didn't say last week. We have 2 new patrons. We have Lucy, who is a content creator herself, a novelist. She's joined up to the Patreon. And Andrew Marchetti or Marchetti? I think it's Marchetti, isn't it? He's a new Patreon too. Thanks so much to him. Yeah, thanks to all the patrons for helping us out. It really means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just to say as well, we have a Facebook group, and that's called the Cider Shed Podcast.
Can I just ask one thing as well? Why was Pat cooking a chaffinch?
And is it a euphemism?
No, she was going on about chaffinch and then said, I've got something special in the oven for Tony for later.
Chaffinch is very small.
Are they?
Do you think if you're part of an established couple, you should be able to cook a chaffinch in front of the other person, or do you think that's something you go to the bathroom to do on your own?
I'd rather eat a chaffinch than Helen's paella, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, anything from that family. Bloody hell. I mean, this onwards and upwards, because this week has, I've been quite polite about it, but if for those of you who've made it all the way through to the end, I thought it was absolute donkey plops this week. Onwards and upwards. Let's hope it's a little bit better next week. I don't mean our podcast. I mean the bloody Archers.
Yeah, I know. Of course.
Well, you sounded shocked. I don't know. Were you listening to the same thing? My God. Anyway.
No, it's just funny that you said donkey plops. That's why I was
Well,
laughing.
Matthew asked
He
us
always says,
swearing downs. Yeah, I do have a limited vocabulary of childish swear word alternatives. Donkey plops is on the roster. Yeah, so have a lovely week, everyone. Keri, it's amazing to have you back. And Matthew, have a fantastic move. I know you've sort of like you're sort of moving in drips and drabs, but is this the week where it finally happens?
no, it's not the week where it finally happens.
Okay.
At the moment, it's just meeting people and pointing at things and saying, "Can you do that?" At the moment, so that's where we're at.
So it's the hemorrhaging money phase. Lovely, good fun.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, Patreon.com/The Cider Shed.
Have fun, everyone.
Well, I'm off to watch Arsenal now, so see you next week.
Oh, when the Saints.
Oh, Matthew.
Shut it. Ooh, rabbit.